Robert Barnes, Luke Gronkowski, and then others people are like, oh, he deserved what he got or whatever, and I don't know. So let's lay it out so I can give my totally not biased opinion because I really am not biased anymore. I would feel.
Yeah, so I'll just give a quick rundown and then we'll play the video. But essentially, this dude, he got shot by ICE. He had a weapon. He did have a weapon on him, but he did not aim it at officers. I don't even think he had it on. I don't even think he had it in his hands when they took him down. As
No, he
Sean
did not.
pointed out on Twitter, that one of the officers actually retrieved his firearm prior to him being shot, but didn't communicate it with his coworkers. So we do have this video. I don't really care if YouTube dings me for it. I think we should play the video because I don't think it shows anything graphic. It does show a man being shot, but it doesn't show like blood or anything. So
that's the important part.
That's the important part. You can show a man being shot. You just can't show blood. The blood is the scary part.
Disturbing video going viral on social media captured the moment shots rang out in downtown Minneapolis on January 24th. After federal police struggled to subdue a man who, according to DHS, quote, violently resisted officers while armed with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun.
Violently resisted.
Oh, what the They killed him? Did they kill that guy? Are you kidding me, dude?
The 39-second clip, which was posted on Reddit and X, showed about half a dozen cops struggling with someone on the sidewalk
5 different angles of this video now.
26th Street and Nicollet Avenue when the gunfire erupted. The officers appeared to scatter after the barrage of shots went off. A law enforcement source shared a photo of a firearm with the Post, saying the shooting happened after the man brandished a firearm with 2 magazines. Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara told CNN that the man was shot and killed by federal agents during the tense moment. In a statement on X, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz...
Okay, so we'll move on from that. We have other video angles too. We have the post-millennial. Let's see if they have a better angle. But yeah, so obviously everyone's talking about this, and they're you know, depending if you're a Republican or you're a liberal, you'll say that it's justified or not. And I'm kind of in between here. I'm not like I'm not gonna say that this guy's completely in the wrong, but I'm not gonna say that the Border Patrol is completely in the right. So it's kind of like the whole story is kind of like a gray area.
Yeah, I feel like I have a pretty nuanced stance on this. And if you haven't seen the little like slowed down, zoomed in clip that that post that you referred to of mine, if you scroll to one of my comments on it, well, my only reply to it, you can see the angle that is really necessary to get a grip on what's actually happening. But some of the videos show a few seconds earlier. They accuse the guy of like fighting with ICE. You could build the argument that he's fighting to stand back up by pushing against the ground and trying not to be shoved into the snow. But anything beyond that, it doesn't really make sense. It's not shown in the video evidence. ICE shoved a woman twice. I don't really know why they shoved her. It seemed kind of like they were just trying to get her. Yeah, you see the slide right there? The slide goes back. That gun went off. So
it doesn't look like his hand is high enough. Like it looks like he's grabbing it from the bottom of the handle, so I don't think his finger would have hit the trigger.
Exactly. So it was an accidental discharge. But from the perspective of the officer who actually did the shooting, he doesn't know that. This guy never yells out, "I got the gun, I got the gun." So the guy that did the shooting was not aware that Alex was disarmed. And he did hear a gunshot after being told this guy we're detaining has a gun. So it's reasonable to think that he believed that his fellow officers were being shot at. So his shooting, I think, is clean. Everything leading up to the shooting is maybe not, but the shooting itself, based on what you can reasonably expect that guy to know and be aware of at the time, it looks clean. But that slide goes back.
Yep.
So that gun went off. I think that was the first shot that the shooting
and then it spooked the other officers that didn't know he didn't have it on him.
Exactly.
Well, I'll say what I always say when it comes to cases like this with police, getting involved. don't resist. Whether the cops are in the wrong or they're in the right, you do not resist the cops. Let them be wrong if they're going to be wrong, because it could lead to situations like this where you try to fight back because you believe they're in the wrong, and then they get scared and they shoot you. So it's always best when law enforcement are involved. If they tell you to get on the fucking floor, you get on the fucking floor and you just do it. Because if you fight them, they have authority to kill you. Like that's just the unfortunate reality of things. And I would say a lot of the time the cops are justified because their life could be a threat if you're fighting them.
Yeah, that's the gray area that you were mentioning. Because like if you watch the longer videos, the ICE dude shoves a woman onto the ground and she slips on the snow and lands on the curb. Alex walks over and is clearly just trying to help her stand up, but it's slippery, so it doesn't work very well. And then the officer who shoved her on the ground walks over with his bear spray canister, like crowd control style canister, and sprays him both sides of the face. Alex can't even see what's happening at that moment. So the spraying is arguably not justified. The shoving of the woman onto the ground is not justified. That's him right there in the brown.
The one that just walked past?
Actually, yeah, he's actually trying to let these vehicles know that it's safe to come through. So there's arguments that, oh, he was directing traffic. I mean, kind of, but it's not like he was trying to stop anybody. He was just saying, hey, you can get through here, guy. And then that woman, you just saw her get shoved to the ground, or you're about to. And then he walks over to her and tries to help her up while he's being shoved, but they're accusing him of assaulting her as well, and that's just not in the video.
Wait, yeah, I'm confused. What the fuck just happened? ICE just came over and started shoving people?
She was in the street, and she got shoved twice. If you watch before it turns away, you see her get shoved right now.
Pushing her.
And then you see him walk back up to her and shove her again right there. She slips. She's fallen on the snow. And this is what I'm saying when it's not clear that he was like fighting back. They were shoving his face in the snow and he was trying to breathe as best I can tell.
Yeah, we could here, let's do a breakdown from here. So they're in the street. So they're in the street. The ICE comes over, they start shoving them out of the street. There's an argument to be made that law enforcement's allowed to do that. They're allowed to remove people from the street if they're loitering in the street. They could have gone about it maybe in a nicer way, but we don't know if they had asked them nicely before or if they just went over and just started with the shoving. Let's assume they asked them to get out of the street first and then they resorted to shoving. So then it escalates. Now there's a group of people here. ICE is shoving them, spraying them. Let's see where it goes from here. And we don't need the audio because it's just a bunch of people screaming and cars honking. So here they are. They're in a scuffle. Whoever this guy is with whoever is that the woman with the orange backpack, she's clearly resisting.
She's trying to stand up, and the woman that's grabbing her is trying to help her stand up.
Oh, is that not an ICE officer?
I don't think so.
No, it doesn't look like it. No, I think you're right. It doesn't look like it.
Because she's grabbing her by the hand and trying to grab the elbow, but her feet keep slipping in the snow.
Yeah, here, let's go back. So shoved. He steps in. He's getting sprayed.
And then he and that other person, I can't tell, they both try to help her up.
Yeah, he's trying to help her up while he's getting sprayed. Now they're bringing him to the ground.
They drag him off of her. And like he's being shoved into like the slippery, icy ground, which explains why 7 dudes can't pin one guy.
Yeah. And then you can see, you can see when the guy grabs
and now he's already dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's another angle from the other side of the street where it shows the ICE agent walk over, he's right there. The one on the one with the black hoodie on that's second from the left, like just to the right of the guy in the black sweater with the vest on. Go left more.
Left more? This?
Yeah,
one right from him.
Him.
One right from him.
That guy there is going to reach in and grab the pistol and walk away with it, and that's the guy who we see the slide go off. But he's holding it from the handle. He doesn't have his finger on the trigger. I sort of think that the only real faults here are the P320 is 6 Hour, right? 6 Hour made a faulty weapon. It should not have gone off when nobody pulled the trigger. And because of that, somebody died right here. And then the second fault is there was no real justification for pepper spraying him in the first place. He was just helping a woman up from the ground.
Yeah, I don't see the justification for the pepper spraying. Shoving them out of the street, that makes sense. But like I don't get the pepper spraying.
Can I back up from there on that?
Yeah.
I first off, the first fuck up in all of this is that they haven't declared martial law and went and shut down Minnesota.
I was waiting for MadStork to go first because that's what I wanted to say. That's exactly what I wanted to say. The biggest fuck up is Donald Trump's just sitting on his fucking hands.
They should have shut down this town. They should have shut down several towns basically and said, fuck no, we're not dealing with this. We're not dealing with you crazy people. If you go out into the street, we're just going to shove you over and arrest you. And then this guy, knowing that everything is contentious, I mean, I've got two sides on this. One, if you've got like somebody like coming out and being crazy and rioters are starting, right? Do you really want to be the guy out there without a gun? But at the same time, do you want to be the guy with a gun when there's a bunch of officers out in the fucking street?
I hear you.
What I would say to that, Stork, is, again, yes, you should always have your firearm on you, but if you get into a situation where cops want you on the ground or want you detained, you should just comply completely.
Why would somebody with, and we'll get into the Sig Sauer thing in a minute, but why would anybody with a gun try to put himself between officers and a person?
I hear you. I just don't think that once they decided to start pepper spraying him, he was already dead. There was nothing he could have done about it.
Yeah. He shouldn't have been in the middle of all that, though.
He kind of wasn't, though. All he did is go to help the girl stand up.
Yeah, so
that part is the only good thing that I think that's where ICE fucked up. I think they shouldn't have gone after him when he's just trying to help a woman up.
Here,
agreed. I think they should have said, I got the gun, he's disarmed, or some variation of that.
There was a lot of lack of communication.
If those two things would have happened, just let him help her up and announce that you've taken the gun. Both of those were off-roads, you know what I mean? Where he would have survived. But because of that, him carrying the gun, Second Amendment all the way, he should be able to walk down the street with a damn bazooka and nobody can say anything.
Well, hold on. Why would you walk out on ice with a Sig Sauer with a loaded round?
Don't get me wrong. His choice of weapon was stupid.
His choice of weapon, carrying one, sitting there waiting to go off.
You can see right here, like they're out of the road. They're out of the road at this point, and the ICE officer still shoves her onto the sidewalk, and then that's when the guy that gets shot steps in between and puts his hand on the officer.
Yeah, that was another. He shouldn't have put his hand behind him, like put his hand on the officer, but the officer
shouldn't have shoved her to the ground like that.
Hold on. Do you see the guy on the far right though, just to the right of the screen? He's watching him shove him.
Yeah.
That's why he goes to the ground, and everything else happens from there.
No,
as soon as he touched that officer,
it happens incredibly fast. I mean, the original officer comes over, he's shoving them, he shoves her, he steps in, puts his hands on the officer, the other officers see him put his hands on him, and immediately everything escalates. He's getting sprayed. He's trying to help her up, kind of. He probably can't even see at this point.
Left side of the face, right side of the face.
They're pulling him while he's trying to help her up.
He also should have let her go instead of trying to drag her with him. Like, there's a lot of mistakes or whatever here.
Yeah.
But as far as like the main bullet points go, we don't know why she was shoved. Like you said, we didn't hear what she said. We didn't hear what they said to her before. But why was she shoved? Well, separate question.
And this happens so quickly. This happens so quickly, Sean, that I don't even know if the officer announcing that he grabbed the gun would have been enough to stop it. Because like he could have said, I got the gun, and then it goes off and they shoot him.
Agreed.
Rewind to watch where I was just talking about that guy on the right side of the screen. Watch that guy as he approaches everything. So he's literally walking up, already has the pepper spray right there. He's already engaging the guy as they're going to put him down because he put his hands on the officer.
Yep.
You can even build the argument that the one in the black sweater right there was trying to de-escalate his fellow officer.
Yeah, because he watched you could see it. He watched the whole thing go down, and then his whole focus is on the guy that they now have on the ground. He was trying to grab him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then the gun goes off. It scares the officers. They open fire. And he's gone.
And none of them knew that it was the Sig Sauer that went off by mistake in the hands of the ICE agent. That's why I say the shoot is clean. Based on what you can expect them to be aware of in that moment, it's lawfully justified. But almost everything leading up to that moment is crazy. And I lean even further into what Stork said. We should have cracked down on the immigration and the gang warfare shit years and years and years ago. This never even should have been a possibility.
Yeah, but even recently, Donald Trump should have just called the national. He should have just shut the shit down. Now see what happens when he doesn't shut the shit down. Now is you go from, oh, the media's like, oh, he's fascist. He shut things down. Nobody's allowed to do anything. Oh, but now you got the visuals. Now you got the visuals that they're going to use. They're going to use these visuals.
They're going to try to make this into George Floyd 2.0.
Exactly. So what Donald Trump doesn't understand is by him, he doesn't want to do martial law. He doesn't want to seem fascists. But what's going to happen now is it's just going to be even worse optics. It's just going to make people are going to be like, ICE agents are out to get people.
Well, they're already trying to make an autonomous zone in the area where this guy was shot.
They've already
that's
made
already
a few.
existing, I thought.
So now
I read that there's 2 or 3 of them.
bottle, so they got their moments. They got their moments. So
yeah, no, I completely agree with Joey. I think the biggest mistake of the administration thus far with these immigration and ICE protests and riots is that he's not going hard enough, and then because he's not going hard enough, we get scenes like this, and then it just fuels the outrage and gets more people to go out, and then the more people you have out, the harder it is to respond.
They get more courageous now.
Yeah, they get more courageous. They feel like they're fighting some sort of evil because the people on the left are going to see this clip and they're already saying it. They're saying the state executed one of them.
Right.
Yeah. Just straight up, they should have just shut this shit down. Nobody would be even allowed to do anything. Just put the thumb on them. Nobody will fucking
like Stork said. Martial law should be enacted.
It's what had to be done. None of these people, the left never has to feel any consequences, so they're used to this. And when they do finally feel a consequence, boy, do they use it as the shining light of a fucking martyr. So you just got to put the thumb on them, demoralize them, realize that there are consequences, and then this stuff probably won't happen as much because they're gonna be when you go out there to riot, you're gonna be like, well, they're just gonna immediately arrest us. But he's not doing it. He just won't do it. Mistake after mistake.
Well, I think it's worse than that. I think if they're not going to deal with that right now, because I keep saying this, I've said this everywhere on everybody's thing, man. I'm going to say it again. Can you imagine what this shit is going to be like in 2 months?
Especially if shit like this keeps happening.
When it gets warmer,
He needs to
2 months, dude. I'm thinking about what it's going to look like in 10 months when the Democrats win back all the fucking House and Senate.
Yeah, I get that, but the fact that you don't crack down on it right now means that they're just more emboldened to go out there in 2 months.
Absolutely,
he's just setting the table for his own demise, and then when that happens, he's gonna be like, "Look, they're coming at me to get to you." It's like, get the fuck over yourself, buddy.
Like you had your chance, dude.
Get out of here with that propaganda. That shit.
Well, that's what it all leans into is the propaganda element. Like, is he just allowing this to happen because both sides of the aisle want martial law?
Yep.
And don't get me wrong, I think martial law, if done properly, could have corrected and fixed Minnesota. It could fix Southern California, because Northern California is not like this. It's just not. But Southern California, a lot of it is. But I've been talking about the Mockingbird media has been pushing this. And the left right now is creating the justification for martial law and pretending that it's already there.
Yeah. Can you pull that video back up one more time, man? And I want to show this is the part where he shoves the guy. Just repeat that shit for a second. Because if martial law happens, here's the difference between that being good and bad is literally when he shoves that guy trying to help up a woman. If we can get martial law and we can not have assholes needlessly push people trying to help up women, it's fine. Everything's fine.
I get it. The adrenaline's pumping. There's a lot of people that are screaming and yelling at you all day. There's this fucking idiot in the street, and you're like, just get the fuck out of the street. But you as a law enforcement officer need to be able to stop, take a moment, and be like, maybe I shouldn't fucking shove this person.
Yeah, right.
Literally that right there, though, when he shoved him, that is the moment that everything is going to break down with the whole idea of martial law.
Yeah,
Right.
everything falls apart right there. We'll play that in just a second. I want to read Bach's comment. Bach said the P320 I commanded discharge
Uncommanded.
is
He corrected.
what?
He corrected it. Uncommanded.
Oh, uncommanded
Yeah.
discharge. So the uncommanded discharge is likely due to the gapping between the slide and the slide rail. Jostling the slide while the trigger is not fully depressed causes the firing pin to release. That is an insane fucking design flaw.
Yeah. And we were talking about this almost a year ago, wasn't it? When it first hit the news.
I know a lot of people were
exactly.
making
I thought it
memes
was
about it
last
because they're
June,
like, why the
July.
fuck would you have
June,
that
July, I
gun?
thought was when that was.
Something like that.
June-
Yeah. 7, 8
June,
months,
July,
something like that.
somewhere, yeah.
6, 7 months ago.
See if now let's see. I don't want to speak this into existence, but now the left could use this as like a motivation for
Yes.
the gun manufacturers, holding them accountable for something that happens.
Well, something like this, I would actually be in favor of that, though, Joey. If you're,
When
but
it's a design
that's
flaw.
why it's perfect. But that's why it's perfect, Tyler. That's why
Yeah.
it's perfect. Is because it's a legitimately decent reason as to why, if we had a well-meaning government, you might want to do this, but we don't have a well-meaning government.
Do we have anything where they could like call again for those things to be returned in a calling?
Oh, like a
or some
recall.
way to fix a defective product?
some
Like
sort of
a
Manufacturer recall?
fixing.
yeah. Right.
I don't know. I'm sure we could work out some system for people to go like be responsible for that shit. But
Yeah, but why do that when we
know.
could watch this lady get shoved by ice?
I still get recall letters for like a vehicle that I don't even have anymore. Like it's a thing. I can't believe that it's been almost a year and the P320 hasn't been recalled to gunsmiths and fixed on Sig Sauer's dime. Even just for the sake of fixing Sig Sauer's reputation, you would think that they would want to do that.
Yeah, because Sig was a really popular brand until like 6, 7 months ago. So
I almost bought this gun.
No. It legitimately was. But I mean, the funny thing about recalls and stuff like that is I've taken my car in to get like handled at the shop like a couple of like probably 3 or 4 times last year. And I had a particular problem with my car. And I was asking them, hey, like, is there any recall on this particular part on this call? Because in this car, somebody told me I should check and see if there's a recall. And it turns out there was, just not for my model. But when the guy was looking it up, turns out there were 3 other recalls that hadn't been serviced on my car yet. And I was like, you guys could have fucking told me that shit.
Nah, you can come back another day.
I mean, they had to come back another day to fix it. Go ahead.
Rich Flowers says something interesting about the gun. He says, "I think those were widely issued to be one of the military branches, maybe Air Force or something. They canceled the government contract after that flaw came to light a while back.
Damn.
Yeah.
That means there's a fuck ton of them out there."
Just before that, Bach says there's a voluntary upgrade to supposedly fix the issue. So
that should not be voluntary.
Well, if you give them the authority to come take it, then there might not be an actual problem, and they might do the California thing where the recall is to put that stupid ass fucking fin on the backside of your pistol
okay,
grip.
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
but that does change my opinion a little bit on this. The weight is a little bit less on Sig Sauer and a little bit more on Alex if there was a free voluntary fix and he didn't take it.
Bach says you're supposed to send in the pistol to SIG and they fixed the issue, supposedly. Police departments bought a ton of them, too.
So you're saying they called for the thing to be brought back? We have a system for that.
No, we didn't know about it, but it did happen.
Yeah, SIG didn't put a recall out, but they did say, hey, if you don't want your gun to misfire randomly, send it back to us.
That's
how
crazy.
kind of them.
It's like saving face.
Hey, if you don't want faulty equipment. So I guess if someone doesn't decide to, like, how would that work legally? Like, if we live in this Democrat dystopia of,
if someone decides not to go get their misfiring gun,
decide not to, do they get held accountable now, assuming that they're not dead?
They should.
Honestly, I would say
I might agree on that one.
I would say the fault falls on the manufacturer, but in this case, SIG has announced that they're aware of the issue and that they will fix it. Then at that point, I would say yes, it falls on the owner of the firearm at that point. If the manufacturer decided to just ignore the issue and said they're not going to fix it, then it would fall on them.
Well, so here's the interesting question, right? Let's say this scenario arises where it's like, listen, you are free to do that, but if something goes wrong, you're being held accountable. Now, what happens if this person, this hypothetical person that we're talking about, does lawfully use his weapon, and the state's trying to go after him, and they're going to go, he didn't get this upgrade. Maybe, it
Wait.
was faulty. You know what I mean? Like they'll use it as something to go after someone who finds themselves
Even though
actually
everything they did
operating
was
the equipment
lawful.
that is supposedly faulty. Yeah, even though it was because that's what they'll do. Look, can we get them anywhere? Because that's like what New York City does when it comes to self-defense.
So
They'll
I
look at everything. Can
Hey,
we get them anywhere?
what?
Can we get them anywhere? That's what they do.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Sean?
Yeah, look for something to stick. What day exactly did this happen? Because I just tried to look up that recall because I want to add it to that thread that I'm building. And it looks like,
This was either yesterday or Friday.
what day was this?
I think it was Friday.
I think it was Friday because
it
I
looks
saw a
like-
bunch of memes about this yesterday.
Yeah, it was. I was.
I'm gonna drop a
scrolling
link in the in this chat here. It looks like 4 days ago, Sig Sauer was hit with an $11 million verdict tied to the 320 discharges.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Well, so I have this article pulled up from the Post Millennial, and I don't like how they're characterizing this. It says Border Patrol head Greg Bavino said that the deceased anti-ICE agitator Alex Pretti was armed. So this is from the Border Patrol head Greg Bavino. Alex Pretti was armed as if to want to inflict, quote, maximum damage and massacre law enforcement before he was shot by Border Patrol agents on Saturday.
Yeah, fuck all that.
Yeah, that's
What?
quite the fucking stretch, bro. If the Biden administration,
Yeah, that's the propaganda.
if they came out and said that shit, bro, we be shitting on them. But now you got half the motherfuckers on the right that are cheerleading something like that. Well, you fuck around and find out. Fuck around and find out.
But see, it's bullshit
fucking-
like this from Republican side that makes people that are like in my YouTube chat, Audrey, saying that conservatives are blaming the man that he deserved it, all this other stuff. I'm not gonna say that this guy deserved it, but I will say that it was completely avoidable.
It was completely avoidable, but within the moment of the
On both
situation, like
sides.
Sean says, it's hard to really put any specific person at fault for the shooting aspect because of the things that happened around it. But the situation shouldn't even have ever happened.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
and like we did a bit of a video breakdown, and I don't think there was anything saving that man once he got put to the ground.
No.
Right.
Like
Once he
even as
touched
we
that
pointed out.
officer,
Even as we pointed out with that other officer taking his firearm, even him announcing, I got the firearm, that he would have barely had enough time to say that before he even went off, and then they would have opened fire.
Right. It was like he stood up and turned around, and as he's taking his first step or two away from the mob, it went off. So we're talking, what, a second and a half, 2 seconds maybe? There's no way that it would have registered. He should have said it anyway, but once that's all going down, Alex would have died anyway.
So Bach says in the chat, bottom line, he was armed and planned to obstruct federal law enforcement, 100% at fault. What I'll say to that, Bach, is that we have the Second Amendment in this country, and if I want to go protest while armed, I'm allowed to.
Yeah,
And we don't know that he
people
was
didn't
trying
mind when
to-
when the Bundy Ranch was fucking armed and dangerous, fucking
Right.
occupying their compound because they weren't going to let the government take their shit. The right wing people really loved being able to protest with their guns all shown, not even just like holstered, fucking drawn. So now in this situation, people aren't allowed to. I get it. I get it. They're most of the people protesting are doing it because they're paid agitators or because they're
They're
just
paid
retarded.
agitators.
It
They
doesn't matter, though.
genuinely don't. They genuinely hate ICE or the Trump administration. They do want
Right.
harm brought upon them, but that doesn't mean they have
Right.
the intent to cause that harm.
It's not Minority Report. We can't just predict crimes because, oh, well, a lot
Yeah.
of people all over there on that side of the street don't like us. So the first instance anything looks fishy, we're just gonna fucking mow them down. Like,
Well, because think about this, guys. Like Bach and Rage Flowers, you guys seem to agree in the chat. Think about this, right? Think about it in the reverse. What did they do to Republicans that had firearms on January 6th? They're like,
I don't
oh,
know
they
if they
were
even had
planning. They
firearms,
brought
did they?
firearms, so they were planning to go and shoot senators and stuff like that. No, that's not what was happening.
inflict maximum damage.
They were going to
Yeah,
inflict
yeah.
maximum damage on the
That's-
on the Senate.
that is
You don't
literally
inflict maximum damage
Yeah.
with a pistol. Come on,
Yeah,
let's just be
wh-
real.
whether you
And-
think
and-
that there was a legal justification behind him getting shot or not or whatever, but, like that framing of it is
Maximum
Right.
damage
Insane.
and to massacre law enforcement. They're saying that his intent was to
Massacre.
cause maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. He never brandished
know.
a firearm at
How could-
law
how
enforcement.
could they know that intent? How can they know that
Yeah.
intent? How
We
could they
also
possibly say
we
that?
don't
He was
even
coming
know
right
that he
at
was
me.
trying, right? We don't even know that he was
Yes.
trying to obstruct anything. We don't know that he was trying to hurt anybody. As far as we know, his hands were on the ground and he was trying to keep his face off of the road, which, yes, definitionally is resisting arrest, but technically the arrest the arrest itself is where I mean, it seems like all of us are questioning a little bit. That arrest was not really all that justified. Once he puts his hand on the officer, it seemed like he was trying to say, "Hey, I got this. Let me help her up." And then it escalated from there when dude grabbed his wrist and was like fighting back or whatever. But
the only question the only question I can arise from this is there footage from like earlier in the day, like constant footage of this guy just like pushing ICE agents to the fucking brink and then like fucking dipping it like that? That's the only way you can even like justify remotely what the ICE of how it's being framed.
Well, and this is how it was framed to me when I this
straight hours just poking and prodding and shit.
Wait, Joey, this paragraph right here. This paragraph right here is how it was. This is how I learned about the story. So this is what I thought happened. I thought a man in Minnesota approached ICE agents with a gun drawn and tried to fire upon them. That's how I thought this played out, by the way it was being described. I mean, look at this paragraph here. Quote, during this operation, an individual approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives of the safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. Medics on the scene immediately delivered medical aid to the subject, but the subject was pronounced dead at the scene. The suspect also had 2 loaded magazines and no accessible ID. This looks like a situation where an individual wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. That's not at all what fucking happened, though.
Yeah.
He didn't approach law enforcement.
I would agree, Bach, with your framing of obstruction if you obstruct, but what was he obstructing? I mean, he was helping a woman up.
He was obstructing an officer shoving a woman to the ground. That's
we can't let zealous cops, zealous law enforcement, military units of any kind go so far as to scare men away from just helping random women that are on the ground and having trouble standing women,
up. But
we can't do that.
Probably a protesting woman too, but just still, he was helping a woman up. That's it.
Yeah.
Can we scroll back up to that real quick, Tyler? I just
this paragraph here.
Yeah, this semi-automatic handgun. Why does that seem to be a narrative that is being repeated ad nauseum?
I think it's just they're trying to be verbose. If you can say more words without actually straying from the point, people get confused.
My theory on that
it's almost like we're trying to scare people away from semi-automatic.
No. So that's my theory on it, Stork. We've had jokes in the media for years at this point that it was a fully automatic weapon. You know, like making jokes about the semi-automatic and automatic aspects of a firearm because the media doesn't actually know guns. Assault weapons and stuff like that, right? So I think what this is, because now we see so many outlets saying it, I think this is them finally doing some self-correcting because they realize that automatic weapons are already banned. So now they're like, no, it's semi-automatic weapons. Semi-automatic weapons are the bad ones now.
You could frame that as self-correcting, and you could frame that as advancing their agenda to remove all weapons. Either way, I would
another way to look at it.
Accept.
In
California, nunchucks are considered an assault weapon. If I take a broom handle and saw it in half and put some fucking chain between it with a screw, that's considered an assault weapon now. So I don't like any of that.
What were you saying, Joey?
I don't remember.
Full semi-auto?
Well, what's not a full semi-auto? A musket? Like what the fuck?
Well, no, a musket is not semi-automatic.
I know, but I'm saying like, that's what I'm saying is if they're like get rid of semi-autos or whatever, it's like okay, so just have muskets basically.
No, you could have revolvers.
I know. Revolver is technically
what I'm saying is then it's going to be what? You can't have more than one shot in your gun. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's what they're moving towards.
That is eventually the goal before taking them all away. Yeah.
Bro,
they might be okay with you having a one-shot shotgun or something.
Yeah, they're about to
assault
label
weapon
your
is
Nerf
not a
gun
fake
as
term. It was
a
term made up by video games that was adopted by the media.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a disagreement there. When you say it was made up by video games, I think calling it fake is kind of fair. You know,
I guess
there might not be too much, but an
it was
assault
just
weapon
categorization in video games, basically.
Like,
and it's supposed to refer to fully automatic, like war rifles.
Yes,
you know,
Bach,
pull
fully
the trigger
semi-automatic
once
is a
and it
joke.
just keeps
I'm making
shooting
fun
until
of
you let
the
go.
media outlets that do that. Because there have been media outlets that report fully semi-automatic weapons.
Yeah,
If,
fucking
if
retards.
Bach, if you scroll up to our sergeant's comment right there, that's where we were getting
Yeah,
that
full
from.
semi-auto.
The fully
Yeah,
semi-auto. Yeah,
Mm.
it's what our sergeant said over there. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes, we get it. We get
There's a
it.
delay. He'll find out. We're joking. It's okay.
Everybody on
The
Facebook finds out in 10 years.
But yeah,
the assault team Hex that was going in there with the full semi-auto was definitely sporting chubbies as they were getting the job done.
So for this story though, right? Like, I don't think the guy that got shot is 100% in the wrong or 100% in the right, and I don't think Border Patrol. I don't think anyone's in the right or wrong here. I think it's just a fucked up situation that should have been avoided.
You know.
Yeah. And we don't actually know how, like, I didn't hear anything about that, you know, call it a recall, call it one step below that, whatever you will. I didn't know anything about that Sig Sauer fix. And it sounds like none of you did either. So is it reasonable to put the weight on Alex if we don't actually, like, if there was no meaningful and like successful effort to advertise that all he has to do is mail the gun in and it'll be fixed and mailed back? I don't know. That's a gray area for me.
It is. It's tough. Well, we definitely can't hold the manufacturer accountable. So then I guess it's just neutral. It's just something that happened. But I don't know.
Depending on how effective their effort was, I agree with that. Yeah.
Is now this is something we can never prove, but like, is it possible to like easily just kind of booby trap the gun in this instance? Then,
what do you mean by that?
To have it intentionally go off or something?
Well, like, they would have to know him ahead of time and be planning on it with him.
No,
kind
I'm
of
saying
thing.
for him though. For him, could that be like something that he was planning? Like somebody's going to grab my gun and it might just go off, and he was probably thinking it might end up shooting them instead of you know what I mean?
Maybe, but then how would he have it not go off when he was like slipping on the snow and trying to help the woman up? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of to me. There's a lot of what if in that. Like, is it possible? Yes, but is it likely? I'd say no.
Definitely not beyond a reasonable doubt. You can't say that. That's for sure. So it's just speculation. But
what does Elon Musk say? The most likely outcome is the most interesting or the most amusing. So
I think that one of my main new takeaways from this, because I hadn't read I saw that quote, but I didn't realize it was from
a longer quote.
Well, I didn't realize it was from this organization. Is it fair for me to call that Jew-on-Jew violence because the one Jew is saying that the other Jew is trying to massacre people when they clearly weren't?
Ooh. Maybe one
that
of them
sounds like a blood libel to me.
I think you just saying that is a hate crime.
The meme
that Jews going to conspire against other Jews.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to call it blood libel.
The meme that I kept seeing was they called this person happy and of a merchant class. And that's the one everybody kept comparing this to. So
I haven't seen that, but that sounds funny.
Because he's not too far off of the meme. So
if he just put his hands in the right position, you know.
We need a more profile picture, guys. Anyhow,
yeah,
this whole thing is unfortunate, you know. Like we're all trying to throw a little bit of, you know, light air on it so it's not quite as miserable, but the bottom line is both sides are trying to paint it as if there was zero fault on their side and that everything is the other team is fully to blame, and that's just not true. That's you got to be able to understand. A man lost his life,
and people are playing politics over it. Is what's happening. Yeah. It's your side did all the bad, my side did all the good, and that's why a guy is dead because you're bad.
But you know what? Back to the initial point Stork made was. This would never happen if we called in the martial law or something, because now not only do you have federal forces that are this is not their forte of like, you know, playing riot police for these guys. They're just supposed to be immigration people, so you don't have the proper federal agency in there handling a certain situation.
That's true.
Yeah, why is the federal government not sending in the military or whoever they got to send in to assist ICE with the immigration enforcement?
Yep.
And why are we not arresting the governor and the news apparatchiks and
literally
the other politicians that are pushing for this to happen? They're straight up calling for resistance And
just,
that's
like,
what leads to
Any
this.
government apparatus, any government official, anyone who remotely works for the government doing anything to impede or ignore orders to follow the law needs to be arrested. Like this shouldn't even be like something that needs to be said. It should be as simple as, we're going to send in ICE. They're going to go enforce the law. If you impede them enforcing the law, you're breaking the law and get arrested too.
That's where I'm at. You got to apply it at the top first when you're dealing with
Gotta go
law.
top down.
Yeah.
I just like, if this was Joe Biden, I always go back to this. If this is Barack Obama, Barack Obama, the one that the new right claims is the mastermind of it all. If this was Barack Obama, would they not say he's doing this on purpose? Like, how can I just think, like, why isn't he doing it? Why won't he do it? It makes no sense. And then Pam Bondi going on Fox News talking about she sent a strongly worded letter to Tim Walz. Like, this is all bark and no fucking bite. Every day, like, all the shit, like the Stephen Miller types that said at Charlie Kirk's funeral, like, it's all fucking bark. It's no bite. They don't do anything.
Charlie Kirk got shot in the fucking neck, and we haven't seen arrest from anyone on the other side.
There's nothing. People were celebrating it, in fact, and they've done nothing. And it's like, oh, well, we don't want to be fascist, but they'll, then Donald Trump will just do tariffs when it's not really his position as president to do, but that's okay. But like, when it comes to doing something like this, they want to get all, well, my Constitution. It's like, okay, just keep picking and choosing which parts of it you care about.
Yeah,
Speaking of Obama, I haven't read it yet, but Barack dropped a letter about this today at some point. I just sent it to you on
Is that what
Discord
you sent me?
you
Well, okay,
that
that'll be the last thing we cover, and then we'll move on, because I do have a lot of other stories. There was actually another incident in Minnesota. I don't know if you guys know about the other incident with the other ICE officer.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, so we'll talk about. I don't want to give too much of it away, but there was another incident that happened that we'll be talking about. So this is from Barack Obama. The killing of Alex Pretti is a heartbreaking tragedy. It should also be a wake-up call to every American, regardless of party, that many of our core values as a nation are increasingly under assault. Well, that sounds like he's definitely going to unite the country. Let's read this. The killing of Alex Pretti is a heartbreaking tragedy. It should also be a wake-up call to every American, regardless of party, that many of our core values as a nation are increasingly under assault. Federal law enforcement and immigration agents have a tough job, but Americans expect them to carry out their duties in a lawful, accountable way and to work with rather than against state and local officials to ensure public safety. See, I agree with Obama here. If only the local and state officials would actually work with ICE. That's the disconnect here.
Yeah.
No, but he's talking about their values. Their values are being attacked. Yes, their values of
open borders and
who aren't citizens of this country live on taxpayer dime. Like, that's what they sell to their people as fucking charity. Like that of course their fucking core values are being attacked. They're fucking Marxists.
James O'Keefe put out stuff recently. James O'Keefe put out stuff recently showing high-ranking officials in the Democrat Party saying that they are purposefully letting people in because they know they vote Democrat.
That's
but
true.
Here we go though. The Democrats, it's the same thing every time with both these damn parties. The Democrats are appealing using terms of like, our freedoms are being, or our beliefs are being, violated, and then, big government comes out of it, and then the right kind of does the same thing, and then big government comes out of it. So I'm just like, damn, man, what's the point? What is the point of voting for both of these? Like, how long are we going to let ourselves get okey doked by these fucking Republicans? I'm sick of them. I'm sick of them.
Yeah. It's the Hegelian dialectic in action again.
Yeah.
Let's continue here. For weeks now, people across the country have been rightly outraged by the spectacle of masked ICE recruits and other federal agents acting with impunity and engaging in tactics that seem designed to intimidate, harass, provoke, and endanger the residents of a major American city. These unprecedented tactics, which even the former top lawyer of the Department of Homeland Security in the first Trump administration has characterized as embarrassing. See, I find it interesting the way they phrase things here, because they even bring up, from Trump's first administration, there's a lawyer that completely disagrees with everything going on, and it's like, I don't fucking care.
Right. And they skip everything that happened under Biden, how what is it, like the small estimate is like 20 million people,
The high is
brought
like
over.
30 or 40.
Something like that.
Like the
yeah.
insane numbers were let in under Biden. So we have to do insane measures in order to get them out. And what's funny,
Exactly.
what's funny here, and Sean, Stork, and Joey, I know all three of you will agree with me here. I just love how like much their panties get in a just in a bundle, right? Because of what's going on with the immigration and customs enforcement. But this isn't even a fraction of what we fucking wanted to see. So just imagine if we were actually getting the mass deportations we wanted, how they would react.
They'd be talking about the trains and like, oh, they rounded them all up on trains and shipped them out of the country again. And I mean,
think trains would be a lot more effective and
Agreed.
efficient.
Agreed.
But
I just think that
it's funny.
it would be a hearkening back to World War II propaganda, and we would have a whole new round of that for the next 100 years.
Just an appreciation of this plan, though. I mean, it is a very interesting plan that the Marxists have done with the illegal immigration and how they sprinkle them in random places and shit. Because what they're hoping for is that people see their neighbors getting hauled in the vans, and then they see what they're saying on the fucking media, and that's gonna be enough intimidation, essentially, or pulling at the heartstrings to sway their vote.
Well, then you get stories like this where it's like, guys, they're kidnapping your neighbors and sending them to countries that they have no affiliation with anymore. And so then you have that aspect of it. And then now you couple it with this, guys, when you go and protest your neighbors being kidnapped, they'll execute you, is now going to be the next narrative.
These people are going to be thinking they're doing the most, like these people, like they're putting people in that revolutionary mindset.
Absolutely they are. And what's scariest about that, Joey, is that we're not far away from the Republicans losing the power that they're not using.
Right. And that's the worst part about all this, because if you allow this to go far enough, the right will have zero choice but to go full crackdown mode. And then once you're in full crackdown mode, then the authority shifts to the other side, and they're doing the hand
crackdown on you.
Shit. Yeah. So I got a question for you guys. You're familiar, everybody listening to my voice right now, we're all familiar with the term keeping up with the Joneses, right? It almost seems like what they're doing to propagandize us is like a reverse of the keeping up with the Joneses, where they're saying like, look, you are the Joneses and nobody else in the world can keep up with you. Therefore, we should give them some so that they can keep up with us. And then they use your guilt about how good your life is after fucking 250 years of building to convince you to just step back and let yourself be invaded. And invader right now is one of the trigger terms that gets you nerfed on Twitter, as of we found that out 2 or 3 days ago.
And what's funny about that too, though, is that they're setting up that invader thing, the deep state, the globalists, whatever you call them. They're setting up the invader thing, and then they're making the domestic population feel guilty about accepting these invaders. So again, problem solution. Oh, look at the Republicans! Look what they've done. It's like, yeah, you triggered it, but now it seems like it just. When was the first proverbial shot fired of the reactionary things from both sides? Like every time, like the next one gets in power, it's like they trigger something that rages up the other side down the line, and then they trigger something that does that, and like it's hard for me to not think that like the top brass on both sides of the parties are just, this is part of the plan, is like they had that handshake agreement to continue to give rage to each of these belief systems populations, and they're perfectly fine with it because it allows them to pass more big government things to give them more power to consolidate their power, consolidate the wealth for their fucking corporate cocksucking donors. And like that's what it is. And Donald Trump, he told everyone they should vote for Thune for the fucking Senate. He told everyone to vote for Mike Johnson. Like he kept going to bat for these deep state candidates because he wanted things to be sped along so it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with the administration, which is why he won't fire Pam Bondi. Like this is what he's like. He's playing right into their fucking game, and I keep getting told he's this crusader outside the system, but everything that it shows me is that he's just playing into their system.
Yep.
I think every president has pet projects that they want to go forward, and anything outside of those pet projects, they will use basically to get those pet projects furthered. And I think Trump wants the deportations, but I don't think he wants the bad press. I don't think he wants to deal with the agricultural and the economic outcomes of deporting so many people. So I think, you know, you keep hearing like about the agriculture manufacturer, stuff like that. Like who's gonna pick the cotton? I mean,
Right.
artichokes,
16-year-olds.
yeah, whatever. But yeah, well, 16-year-olds from which country, Joey? And so, yeah, and so I think that's the issue here is he doesn't want any of the fallout. He just wants to deal with what he perceives as problems. But I also think part of it is that he's intentionally going after these countries in Democrat states. You know, I'm not going to bring up which state, but there is a state that I am more partial to them deporting more people from, and they haven't. And I think Tim's right that they want to try to do these map redistrictings and other things based on population. And I don't think they have any intention of ever going in there and doing that. I think that's honestly why. I think his pet project isn't mass deportations. I think his pet project is fucking over Democrats.
I mean, that's what it looks more like. I just wish he would. I just feel like there's so many more ways that he could go about that. I mean, here let's read the rest of this from Obama, because he brings up more points here. So he goes on to say, which even the former top lawyer of the Department of Homeland Security in the first Trump administration has characterized as embarrassing, lawless, and cruel, talking about the way that ICE has been handling things. He goes on to say that these have now resulted in the fatal shootings of 2 U.S. citizens, and yet rather than trying to impose some semblance of discipline and accountability over the agents they've deployed, that the president and current administration officials seem eager to escalate the situation, while offering public explanations for the shooting of Mr. Pretti and Renee Good that aren't informed by any serious investigation and that appear to be directly contradicted by video evidence. See, and then that's the interesting... That's the interesting thing about video breakdowns, right? We could have done that video breakdown earlier, and depending on how you frame things, even with people looking at the video, they'll believe a different story. The situation with Renee Good, she's in a car. There's a law enforcement officer circling her car. She floors it right as he's rounding the front of her car, almost hitting him, or does nick him a little bit. She got shot. Yeah. She was resisting. There's an argument as to whether or not that's justified, but again, like I've always said with these situations, don't resist officers.
Yeah. Had she waited another 2 or 3 seconds for him to take another step or two around the edge of the front corner of that vehicle, she wouldn't have hit him. She still would have gotten away, but she wouldn't have hit him, and she wouldn't have shot. She wouldn't have been shot. So, like,
she could also got out of the car when the other woman told her to get out of the car.
Yeah, he could have put the car in park and complied with officers.
And then she could have not let the lesbian gaslight her into believing that they all had less than lethal rounds.
Go.
Exactly. And then the first thing she said after her, not wife was shot, because, and this time I'm not just saying that lesbian marriage is not a real wedding. What I'm saying is she legally changed her name. They didn't actually get a wedding certificate.
So it's just a name change, no marriage certificate. It's interesting.
Right. So it looks like on paper they're married, but they're really not. So, if she hadn't let that woman convince her that these officers are using like rubber bullets or whatever, and if she hadn't convinced that, if the lesbian lover had not convinced Renee right after dropping off her son at school to come out and protest, if she had not convinced her to start driving away when she was being arrested, like there's so many layers where that woman was gaslight into her death. And if you hadn't seen the one angle from the vehicle that was parked kind of in front of, like, from the direction that Renee tried to drive in, where you see the guy pull his leg back and then the vehicle hit his chest a little bit. It's the same as this one here, where if you hadn't seen that one angle where you can see the slide rack back, you might have a different opinion about this. The framing is super important.
And something I didn't know, Sean, I don't know if you knew this, but I actually learned about this while I was listening to Piers Morgan. That officer that was nearly ran over by Renee Good, just 6 months prior was dragged about 100 feet by a vehicle while on duty.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. So that adds another layer to why this officer, recognizing the danger of the situation, might open fire.
And then did you see the other one where somebody, I don't remember exactly what town this was in, but there was an officer who was like an SUV drove up a snow embankment after hitting an officer and like threw him basically. And the only reason he didn't get straight up just ran over exactly and he was thrown instead is because they were driving uphill up a snow embankment. And that one dropped like a day or two after the Renee Good story.
Our sergeant says, wait a second, you mean to tell me that somebody thought the agency tracking down narco drug terrorists wouldn't be using real bullets?
No,
Yeah,
no, why would they?
I've said this a few times though, that it's learned. Well, the phrase that a particular friend of ours has called it is indignant retardation. They thought because they got away with shit during the protest in 2020 through 2024 that, you know, there's nothing there. Sorry, 2016 through 2024. They thought that they were just going to have rubber bullets and maybe some tear gas or some shit like that. And then when they showed up with real bullets, they're like, oh, heavens me, I didn't know you were allowed to use real bullets.
Right. That's a good term. We'll say it again. Indignant retardation. Is that what you said?
Yeah, indignant retardation.
I like that.
I'd like to take credit for it, but unfortunately, it is Taylor Loren's ex-girlfriend who came up with that particular phrase. So indignant retardation. It's learned retardation. That's literally what it is. And because they're actively going against it, it's indignant. But that's what it is.
They always want to
learn to act a certain way.
And they always want to minimize their own actions too, because if the call it what you will, if the rules of engagement are you can't fire unless you are in danger, what they want to say is, well, I didn't put him in danger. He had no reason to shoot at me. All I did is try to drive away without disregarding the fact that your drive away route was going through an officer.
Joey, as someone who likes to talk about the ideas instead of the necessary stories, do you believe that we have kind of third-partied or
That's a good way to frame what I do.
And ostracize or put outside of our own self the sort of idea that we don't have responsibility for what we do because we're not really responsible for what we do anyways. It's a sort of intrinsic versus extrinsic thing. The extrinsic pressures are making me do it. Therefore, I don't have any responsibility for any of it.
I think like the circumstances of your life can be caused by outside forces, but how you handle it is still up to you. Because that's proof by not everybody handles shit the same way. You know?
Well, I mean, it's not my fault that I slapped that dumbass on the back of the head, though. So don't punish me for it.
No, that's if you can be conscious that your circumstances of your surroundings are affecting your everyday decisions, then you're aware of it. And if you choose to not do something about it once becoming aware of it, then you're just dignitely retarded.
I had a saying that I used to use in like my bio for my profiles. It was something to the effect, you don't decide the deck of cards you're dealt, but you do get to decide how you play them.
Yeah. Are you gonna fold or are you gonna throw the cards on the table and storm off? Or
are you gonna know when to hold them?
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of want to double down on Stork's question and say, Joey, do you believe that the left-wing rhetoric that says, for example, certain groups of society are so shaped by the way that history has unfolded and treated them means that they can't be held liable for their actions? Do you think that this is kind of a symptom of that?
I think I know what you're referring to, but I mean that is kind of like the similar type of that's the type of thinking that they teach in schools and they teach in the media, that basically if you've had a bad rap, I mean it's how they portray it to the people, and the less intelligent people are going to eat this type of emotional shit up. Everything that's happening in your life that sucks isn't really your fault. It's because these people made stupid decisions. And that's kind of how I feel about the government, honestly. Like, I mean, a lot of
Which
times
may be true, right?
Yeah.
Which is the difficult thing about that. It could be true that these people made bad decisions which affect you and makes it harder for you, but that does not mean you get to turn that and be like, oh well, it's all their fault. I have no responsibility in this.
Yeah,
you can
still
still
have
decide how to
agency.
go forward.
Right, but that's
You're
what I say.
still
Like,
responsible for how you treat others.
Right, yeah, but
Agreed.
that's why I say I can see, like, again, with Luigi Mangione, I can see how someone can get to that point, especially if they're not necessarily aware of the big equation that we're all aware of. You know what I mean? Once you realize that, yes, the current circumstances of inflation, of being unable to buy a house and all that crap, that quite literally is the fault of previous governments continuing their crackdown on extracting wealth from the American people and consolidating business and power within the government. Like, they quite literally is their fault, right? It is. So, but that doesn't mean you can't make steps to somehow still get what you want, but you could also recognize that, yes, it is their fault. And that's why we should be aware of this and be like, okay, well, what do we do now with this information? And the thing that
Right.
you got, that we're doing right now with this information, is trying to spread the information so people can be more aware of that shit. And when they're aware of it, then they realize they can take steps to actually fix what the system is.
But
Agreed.
but how do we convince people when they get fed propaganda like this? I mean, look at the
Great question.
rest of the statement from Obama. He goes on to say here, this has to stop. I would hope that after this most recent tragedy, administration officials would reconsider their approach and start finding ways to work constructively with Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, as well as state and local police, to avert more chaos and achieve legitimate law enforcement goals. So the framing here
Arrest
isn't
Obama.
even that the framing here is that Trump is not following the law. The ICE is not following the law, when it's actually the complete opposite. Governor Walz and Mayor Frey, as well as other state and local law enforcement and government officials, are purposefully ignoring the federal government, not sending in assistance, not sending in officers to help quell riots and protest. They're purposefully, if they're not just outright ignoring the help they need, they're just actively working against it and working to prevent it.
Yeah, I think it's so many layers, because on the one level, bottom line, this is why communists were not given civil rights under the 1963 Civil Rights Act, because this is what they do. They lie and they use the gaps between what is lawful and what is legal to manipulate society in order to bring about their ends. That's just what they do. That's why we didn't give them civil rights. On the next level is, you gotta, like Obama right here. I'm pointing at my other screen. I'm not pointing at you, Stork. Obama is sowing dissent intentionally. Yeah. And he's trying to, for lack of better words, rally troops against the Constitution. And you have to deal with that. You cannot let that keep going. And then, just to sort of like wrap, I got to get going. So I'm just kind of going to wrap around my entire stance here, building on what Joey was just saying. It comes a time where you have to recognize that you're being propagandized and refuse to let yourself become a weapon for the attack against your own people, because that's what these people that are rallying in Minnesota are doing. That's the BLM movement, where Soros is paying them and creating careers out of going out and protesting. We have to address it at the source. And the source right now is the top level politicians that are convincing the normal retards, just convincing the normal retarded people like us. We've escaped the propaganda, at least to some degree, right? But these people at the top of politics and the top of presenting news to us are rallying retarded people who either don't have the time or the intellect to understand what's happening, and they're using them as weapons to push an agenda, and we have to address that at the root. That's the only way to do it.
I just want to read this, because this is the last of his statement here, and Obama is directly calling for more people to peacefully protest, as he calls. In the meantime, every American should support and draw inspiration from the wave of peaceful protest in Minneapolis and other parts of the country. They are a timely reminder that ultimately it's up to each of us as a citizen, as citizens, to speak out against injustice, protect our basic freedoms, and hold our government accountable. So here we go, the former Democrat president saying that these shootings were completely unjust. The current administration is being unlawful and violating state and local law, and you should get out there and peacefully protest that. That's what that's the message.
You should peacefully bite off the tip of an ICE agent's finger, because that happened a couple days ago.
We'll move to that. Let's transition to that story. Do you guys have any final thoughts about the Obama thing?
Yes, please. I want to push.
I gotta go. That's all you, bro.
A little bit. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
No. Final thoughts before you go. Final thoughts. Go.
No. Go ahead, man. I got a couple minutes. I can let you get your word out.
What I've been trying to say here is that our sergeant had a comment or whatever here in the chat. He's talking about tolerance. It was way too far and everything happening on the right. And the thing about it is tolerance is not bad. It's acceptance that's bad. Tolerating somebody being dumb is okay. Accepting that they're dumb and incorporating the dumbassery into your own life, that's where things go too far. You have to make sure that the people who are acting dumb still know that they're dumm.
Stork makes an excellent point. I can tolerate a man that wants to be a woman, but I don't have to accept that he is.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. It doesn't bother me then I guess you boo-boo, but once you start like, oh, you got to refer to me as a woman, I'll be like, no way, buddy.
But that's a major difference between the right and the left. That is it. And I used to get in arguments all the time back on Facebook when I was still on that thing.
Not MySpace?
And the argument, not MySpace. No, thanks. I am old. No, the argument that I kept having on Facebook, which I'm honestly shocked I never got kicked off for this, was whether or not certain things were intrinsic into your nature, whether or not certain things were naturally that you were born a certain way. And we went ahead and accepted that, and they just moved it a little bit further.
Right.
We didn't tolerate that argument. We accepted that argument.
Yeah, we full on embraced it and codified it.
Yeah, it was too cruel to not accept that, because otherwise it's something that they could act. I mean, and once you do that, once you accept a part of something, they just move to the next thing, and they just move to the next thing and the next thing. Once we accept that they have a right to be retarded in public in front of traffic, suddenly now we're arguing about whether or not they have a right to stand in front of traffic with a gun.
Right. Now, I don't think there's any points of disagreement between us right there. I think that I'm gonna use this opportunity to shamelessly plug for Joey and I, because you're effectively describing what led to Weimar Germany situations where a loaf of bread cost like 3 weeks worth of wages, and they wound up bussing in children as prostitutes because they wanted them and there was a demand for it. If you accept the things that you know to be vile, then you're left in a no alternate choices situation where either you accept the next thing that they try to usher in that you know to be vile, or you stand up and resist it. And they've somehow, I mean, we could go on, we could wax philosophically about how they convince them to do this, but they have brainwashed people into believing that they are resisting the corruption of society by ushering in, by encouraging and helping the ushering in of the trans agenda, of you could tie in the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act, where you convince people that you're a bad parent and it's okay for the hospital to call CPS on you if you don't give them that shot before you leave the hospital. There's so many layers to this, and Stork, you just put it brilliantly. Somebody should jump back and clip that for sure. So the shameless plug is, this is what Joey and I have been talking about with the Money Masters series. They convinced us that the fiat fractional reserve central banking system that is actually not a central bank, that is integral or intimately tied with the government, but it's actually a third party organization that is loaning us money and leeching funds out of us. This is what we've been talking about. If a lot of you have probably already seen it, but if you haven't, tune back into it. It's worth watching. But I got to get out of here, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for all your time. Tyler, this is a great episode. Appreciate it as always. Stork, Joey, I'll catch you guys later.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on.
What's funny though about the point you guys are making, where Obama's basically like, oh, you guys gotta get in the street, we need more people protesting. How commie of them to just literally throw bodies at the problem. I mean, that's how communists always treat their civilians. Like, look at the Russians in World War II. You had a soldier, and then you had an ammo runner behind him. Like, damn, they just threw bodies at the problem. Hey, if comrade in front of you dies, pick up his gun. You know,
because we could think of alternate responses that would have been way better from Obama. What if Obama came out and said, "Guys, I understand you're upset at what is happening with this current administration and the immigration and custom enforcement. We need to remember that law enforcement is just doing their job, and you should not be fighting with law enforcement." Like, what if he just came out in a statement and was like, "Guys, I understand you're upset. Don't fight with law enforcement."
So he can get assassinated? Like, you can't do that, Obama. You must read the script.
Yeah, you got to read the script. But yeah, final thoughts on the shooting of Alexei or the statement on Obama. We'll finally move on. There was a lot to be said there because it just happened. So.
Government conspiracies.
Government conspiracy. Any final thoughts, or are you guys ready to move on?
No, I'm good. We can move on.
Okay.
I will say though, did you guys hear about California? No, it's a tangent. I apologize.
Okay, if we're gonna go on a tangent, I'm gonna stop the recording because that